Hey, what's going on? It is Paul Farmer here. Oops, just dropped a few things. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. That's what happens when you're live, you know? All right, let's see here now. Forget that. All right, anyway, DB Freedom Project not VIP. DB, man, I messed up right now. Freedom Project Live. This is Freedom Project Live, episode 98. So I'm going to keep today's pretty short because I got a number of things I got to do. But so in previous episodes, I've been talking about how I've been really diving deep into Think and Grow Rich and really diving deep into You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. And there's just a few things I wanted to kind of address that really stood out to me that really, I think are really powerful. So one of the things that Napoleon Hill did in Think and Grow Rich, and if you read the book, you probably know. I originally read this book back when I was in college, and when I first read it, I went to the library. I got the book. It was in tiny little print, and the writing, the language of the book was a little bit difficult for me to understand at that time. So I really didn't get a whole lot from that book. I just read it because someone mentioned I should read it, and I didn't get a whole lot from it. But over the years, I have probably read that book, listened to that book. I don't even know how many times now, many, many times. And I continue to go back to it because one of the things I've noticed is very successful people have really dove deep into that book and really apply those principles. There's a lot in that book. So one of the things that is talked about in the book, like at the very, very beginning, is Napoleon Hill talks about the secret. There's a secret that he's put in the book. It's in the book about 100 times, and he doesn't really tell you exactly what that secret is. And it's up to you to find the secret. Well, as you read it, you kind of start to figure it out. But when I was listening to You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor, he actually says what the secret is. At least that's what he says it is. So I thought I'd share that with you because I think it's pretty powerful. And when you really understand the power behind that, you can go out and start doing it. Another thing he talked about was Napoleon Hill went and he interviewed, he worked with all these top guys. I mean, names that we still hear today, but we don't really realize what it was all about. Like, Firestone, Harvey Firestone, Luther Burbank, Rockefeller, Thomas Edison, just to name a few. And he did this study, and he's like, "What is it with these guys?" I think there was like 100, maybe 500 guys, different guys. These are top leaders at that time. Comparable today, it would still be huge, but at that time, Andrew Carnegie, what was it that separated them from everyone else, right? What was it that was like the deciding factor that really separated them? And what he came up with was they're really not unlike any of us, right? They're not unlike anybody else. The only difference is they have this one trait that many people don't really possess, and that is persistence. Okay. That is number. So if you see my shirt, success, right here, number 3, persistence. And they would have an idea. So they knew what they wanted, and they would keep going no matter what obstacle, no matter what was going on in their life until they got it. So persistence, that's a huge key, right there. And we can all have persistence. We can all develop persistence. There's a whole chapter in Think and Grow Rich about persistence. And I'm reading right now. I'm reading You Were Born Rich. So I listen to the audio, which is like a seminar, right, about the book. Now I'm actually reading the book, and I think I'm about almost done with that book too. But in the book, he says that he read Bob Proctor, this other guy, John Canary, read the chapter Persistence 100 times. 100 times. And when they finished reading it 100 times, they really understood what persistence was. And there's a lot of clues there. Many people read books and they read them once and they don't really get what's really in there. They don't really get the meat. They just kind of glance over it and great book, cool, let's go on to the next. This year, like last year, like I heard Grant Cardone say you should read 60 books in a year. So that was one of my goals last year. I went out and I read or listened to 60 books. I probably did more than that, actually. I don't know the exact number I did, but that's what I did. But then this year, I heard him say something different. He said, instead of reading 60 books, focus on one book and read that 60 times. So I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense to me, because now you can really dive deep into this content. And what I discovered reading 60 books is a lot of the content is the same stuff. It's the same stuff, just said a different way, but it's the same principles. And it's throughout time, the same principles. Like the principles don't change. And persistence is definitely one of those principles. So even though these guys didn't have a formal education, so like some of these guys had like elementary school education, yet they were still able to become multi-millionaires, industry leaders, right? And in that time, like Andrew Carnegie was like the wealthiest man, I believe, in the world at that time. So there's something to be said about this book. He worked with these people, these top industry leaders, for I'm not even sure how many years. Was it 30? I can't remember. I got to go read the book again. But I think it was 25 years. I'm just going to say it was 25 years. Can you imagine working, and he wasn't even paid for this, working that long, learning about these successful people and what makes them tick and how they got to where they are for that long, not getting paid? It's just incredible. And that's why I believe, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, there's another book out there that he did where it's a little more in depth, but Think and Grow Rich is like one of the most, like, that book is just something that every business owner needs to read. Like, they should read, and not just read once, but really dive deep into it. I know for a couple of years, I was like, there was a mastermind. A guy was doing a mastermind, and he would come on the call, do like a conference call, and the whole call was about Think and Grow Rich. So I was on that all the time, and I learned a lot during that time. I actually had some major breakthroughs while I was listening to that during that time. There were times where I literally was not making any money. I wasn't getting any results. Like I remember this one part where he talks about burning your bridges, not having a plan B. It's either you go forward or you die. Like there's something in there where a general, they had ships that came on to shore. He's like, burn the ships. We are either going to conquer or we're going to perish. And I remember when I first heard that, I was like, and I was in a bad place at that time. So it just, for me, it made sense. So I was like, okay, that's it. You know what? I was trying to decide, do I go back to being a substitute teacher and taking a huge pay cut and really having no option whatsoever, something I really truly didn't want to do? Or do I see this online business thing through and make it happen? And it was a tough decision because I literally didn't really have much money. I didn't have hardly any money, to be honest. Like it was a scary, scary time. And I made that decision at that time. And within I think it was about 2 months, I hit $10,000 in 1 month. And I'd never done that before. Before, like for the first 2 years, it was like $200, I earned total for like 2 years but anyway, kind of got off subject there. So persistence. And then, so the secret is this, all right? You need to know what you want. So you need to sit down, write down what it is you want. Be specific. You can't just say, I want a lot of money. You need to put a specific amount to that. a specific amount. So is it $10,000? Is it $200,000 in a year? Whatever that specific amount is, or whatever your desire is. Maybe you want a house. I don't know. Maybe you want a vacation home. I don't know what your desire is. Whatever that is, you put that down. One of the guys in Bob Proctor's, he ran his seminar, John Canary. I don't know what happened to him now because it's someone else now doing it. But they had what's really interesting is they have similar stories. So you have John Canary and you have Sandra Gallagher. I think her name's Sandra, and they have similar stories. So like in his seminar, what he does is he puts out this like goal card, right? And on the goal card, you're supposed to write down what it is you want. What do you want, right? You write it on the goal card. So each one of them, and I find this very fascinating because this is decades separate. Decades are separated here. But so John Canary wrote on his card that he wanted to work with Bob Proctor. He wanted to be on stage with him, right? And he wrote that down. He didn't tell anybody. He just wrote it down. And he started, going to all his seminars. He would follow him around and go to all his seminars. And soon, like eventually, Bob Proctor started noticing, hey, this guy's always showing up, right? He's always showing up. And so long story short, he was doing the seminars with Bob Proctor. Then the other story, Sandra Gallagher, I think her name's Sandra. I might have her first name wrong. I know her last name's Gallagher. She did the same thing. She wrote down she wanted to work with Bob Proctor. She wanted to be his partner. And sure enough, she is. To this day, she is. So there's really power in this. And then, oh man, I cannot think of the guy's name in Think and Grow Rich, but Barnes. I think it was Harrison Barnes. He wanted to work with Edison. He didn't just want to work with Edison. He wanted to partner with Edison. And he made a definite decision that that's what he wanted to do, got on a train and found his way, no money, found his way over, didn't know Thomas Edison or anything, but he ends up becoming his partner. So there's all these examples. Like back in the day, way before I was ever on this planet, and then, within decades of each other. It's just fascinating to me. So first thing you do is you write down what it is you want. Be clear and definite about what it is you want. The next part of that is you write it on a card, you write it somewhere, and you read that card as often as you can. That's a secret. That's a secret, okay? You want to read it with emotion. You want to read it with faith. I recommend reading the book, Think and Grow Rich, or reading anything by Bob Proctor. I did put his book in my group. You can go to his page, his Facebook page, and you can find that book as well on PDF for free. You just have to be on his list. So, but I do recommend that. I really do recommend that because there's just so much in there. It's really a powerful book. So anyway, that's the secret. And once I kind of knew that before he said that, but I never, because if you think about it, okay, so like we go into The Secret, for example, like that movie, they talk about that kind of thing. And then we go to, what's his name? Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret. What does he say in The Strangest Secret? He basically says that whatever you think about most of the time is what will come, is what will be, So I just started putting this all together. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. This is all. So decide what you want. Be specific about it. I know it sounds a little hokey. I know like before I got started in online marketing, before I got started in network marketing, before I got all this personal development, before all this stuff, like there is no way in hell that I would ever even imagine doing something like this. There's no way. And, as you go through the process, depending if you're just starting, you've been on for a while, that stuff, those walls break down. You start realizing, wow, you know what? This really is about my mindset. This really is about what I'm thinking about. Because I go back, throughout my life. And I think about all the times that I would say, I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. I don't want, and sure enough, it would happen. And it happened because that's what I was focusing on most of the time. So you got to focus on things that you want most of the time, right? That's what comes into your life. Again, it's a little out there, I know, but I would say just put it to the test. Put it to the test. Bob Proctor said he was making, when he wrote his first gold card, he was making $4,000. This is back, I think, in the 60s. So he was making $4,000, and he wrote he wanted to make $25,000 by 1970. So it was like 1960. He gave himself 10 years to make $25,000. He didn't believe it. Okay. And he started reading that card. He would read that whenever he could. And within a year, he was not at $25,000. I think it was less than a year, actually. He was at $125,000, and he surpassed, $1 million, actually, very soon after that. So there's power in this. This is not, Bob Proctor has a whole entire freaking empire on this stuff. He studied it and studied it and studied it. So I just think it's fascinating, and it makes so much sense. Like there's biblical things you can tie it to as well. I mean, it's all tied together. It all works together. So I just wanted to share that. I think it's really powerful. I know some people will be like, yeah, whatever, that's nonsense. But I can tell you from my own experience, when you focus on things you don't want, they come into your life. When you focus on things you do want, they come into your life. So focus on what you do want, write it down. One of the things I always do too is I write down my goals every day. That's something I learned from Grant Cardone. Write them down every day, because now you're mapping out your future. You're mapping out your future. You're speaking your future into existence. So without going into all the spiritual stuff and all of that, like, just write it down. And here's the thing, like, your subconscious doesn't know whether it's the truth or a lie. It doesn't know. So even if you don't believe the amount you're going to make, like you write down, even if you don't believe it, keep saying it. Because over time, law of autosuggestion, eventually it will permeate the subconscious, and there will be opportunities that are opened up to you for this to happen. Okay. So, I mean, just read this material. I'm just saying, just read it. It will really really help you. Really help you. It's helping me, and I'm really looking to dive even deeper into it and really do what they teach you to do, instead of just read it, but actually do what they teach you to do. Like, write what you want on a card, write when you want it to happen, all of that. Read it out loud. I took it a step further. I put it on my phone, and I listened to it too throughout the day. So I'm really just trying to brainwash me, brainwash my subconscious mind, right? Like, just give it that message, exactly what it is I want. And that's what I'm doing. So just an example. So, but it's so true. Like, I mean, just look at people that are struggling, that are constantly in victim mode, or constantly saying things like, oh, I don't have any money. It's because of this reason. It's because of this reason. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill goes through all the alibis, and I could type that out. There's like so many, if I was older, if I was younger, if I had money. I mean, there's so many, they're excuses basically. If I was, whatever, right? Fill in the blank, whatever excuse you come up with, fill in the blank. That's what's keeping you stuck. All right. So, anyway, so yeah, Steven, if you want a t-shirt like this, just go to Amazon. That's where I found it. I think that's where I found it. Amazon. They have a bunch of different things. Yeah, I like to get t-shirts that talk about success and goals and things, just because, like, that's what I want to be around. So, I appreciate that. That's really all I got today, guys. It went a little longer than I thought it would. I think it's an important topic. Again, it's a little bit out there. I know people, myself included, really just want to do the actions. But if you're not getting your mind right, it's like you're pressing on the gas pedal, but you're stuck in mud. And the more you press on that gas pedal, the more stuck you get. And so if your mind's not right. So and I did that. I pushed hard for a long time, but my mind wasn't right. I didn't believe in what I was doing. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was sabotaging myself all the time, but I was still taking action. That's the difference. That's the difference. And there's so many examples in these books that I'm reading that illustrate this. Okay, so thanks again. Appreciate you. Yeah, Steven. Yeah, check it out, man. They got a lot of other stuff too. So, but yeah, they're fun. They're fun. Fun T-shirts. I like to wear them because what happens is I get conversation started. Like people, hey, that's a cool shirt. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And then they ask me what I do and things. So gets a conversation going, which is fun. But thanks, guys. Appreciate you. That's all I got for today. If you'd like to make some extra money, click the link right below and check out what I got there. Okay. So with that, make it a great day. I'll see you on the next one.